Well, welcome everyone back to Unbroken Veterans. From our previous episode about Clear Force with Mike Hudson, we have him on again to talk about his military career and transition. And to start it out, Mike, we'll go ahead and start with the funny story you got from your military career.
All right. Hey, it's great to be back on with you guys again. Really enjoyed the last opportunity to basically sit down and talk about some we're doing in the veteran suicide prevention space. I mean, it's an important topic, and I really appreciate you guys engaging on that. Yeah. So maybe to context wise, retired as a colonel, aviation, flew helicopters most of the time. But I think one of the funnier stories that you'll relate to as a couple of soldiers is we were in Baghdad. They had cash there. So this was about the 2005, 2006. So it's OEF time, right? We're posting invasion in 2003. So Baghdad's still the green zone, but we would fly flight surgeons in the back. So some cases we were doing medevacs or casualty evacuations, we would fly, casualties or wounded between medical facilities. So we'd fly with a flight nurse or a flight doc. So we're flying with this flight doc, and you could tell he just got in country. So his camis don't fit him right. Like he's got one blouse, one knot. We were going to give him a flight suit, man. Here, just put the bag on. It's much more better. He's like, oh no, I got my uniform. And you could kind of tell, like, some pockets are buttoned, some aren't buttoned. One sleeve's kind of half. It was like, dude, you don't know how to wear that uniform. And I don't know, I won't tell you what branch of the service he was in, but he wasn't a Marine. So
we gotta know. Come on. We gotta know.
Come on, who do you think of the Navy is our medical provider? So this is a Navy. He was a doctor. I mean, smart guy. Would do anything for you. Really, really good. So we shut the bird down, and we're gonna put the bird down. We shut it down in LZ, Washington. That's over by Cash South outside Baghdad. And so we walk out of into the hospital there. And they have a clearing barrel, which a ton of sense. I'm sure you guys have better experience.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of supposed to happen like this. You take in this case, he was carrying a 9mm. You take your 9mm out, you eject the magazine, you put the magazine in your pouch, right? Weapons on safe. You then pull back the slide and lock it to the rear, right? A round shouldn't pop out, but if it does, if you had a condition one weapon, you take the round out, right? You move it away. You show clear. Look, no magazine. Look, weapons safe. You let the slide go home, right? And you put the gun in the weapon into the barrel and you pull the trigger, right? And then you're free to go in. So Doc's out front, we're closing up the bird and doing our thing. And I'm walking up behind him and I'm watching this and it's almost like it's slow motion. I'm thinking like, no. Really? Takes the 9mm out, racks it, magazine is still in, weapon off safe, finger in the trigger.
Hell yeah, you got to do that pop.
Right? Round pops out. So he had a condition one weapon. Round comes out. He ejects a live round. It bounces on the ground. He looks at that. He has a hot weapon, finger in the trigger, weapon off safe, round in the chamber because you just put another one in there.
Yeah.
Puts it in the clearing barrel, pulls the trigger. Round, weapon functions.
Oh, it's clear now.
Yeah, weapon functions. It's all clear now. So the brass flies out because he just, he chambered a fun. So he's thinking like, oh my God, what'd I do? So now he panics. He just ejects the magazine and pulls the trigger again.
Yeah.
Because again, the weapon cycles, so it's now basically it's a single action, right? It hammers back.
Yeah.
You put 2 rounds into the clearing barrel. About the time the second round, that's when the MPs kind of come forward, right? They're not quite sure what's going on. They got their body armor, the M4s, they're doing their tactical approach. And I'm like, I was like staying away from the doctor, like I was moving for cover. So it was the classic clearing barrel snafu that turned into a scene of comedy errors because now the guards are there. Doc doesn't know what to do. He's flagging everybody with the weapon.
Man.
Right? So he's just totally like out of his element. It's like he's like, the monkey got shocked. And so he's like, and everybody's like, ducking for cover. Nurses are starting to get screaming. And this is like a hospital, for Christ's sake. You see wounded. That's just some knucklehead out there with a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
That's it.
2 indies.
Right? And then he was going to get back on the helicopter, and then the crew chief's like, "Hey, sir, you can give me your weapon now." But you're not getting on the airplane with that weapon. That's not happening. No way.
Well, I remember the Navy recruiting thing at the time, and I kind of I do think this way. Obviously, didn't join the Navy, but when I was a kid, there was this commercials, dudes, SEALs rolling off of boats and helicopters and all kinds of stuff, and it said, "If anybody read a book about your life, or if anybody wrote a book about your life, would anyone want to read it?" And I would at least read the back of that guy's book. At least. What that guy was doing? Oh, yeah. I checked that.
So, it's funny. I mean, I tried to think of a couple, but you just keyed on one. So we were doing some training with some SEALs, and we had Marine Recon. So both of them are obviously, we're the coolest guys in the jungle. If you ask either one of them, they'll tell you they're the coolest guys in the jungle. And so the SEALs were doing, they weren't in uniform. They had different camo patterns. It was, again, we were doing a simulated mission out on San Clemente Island. So, but we landed to pick up the Marines. They came with us off of the ship I was on. We were, I think it might have been the Driftwood, the USS Bellwood. So we're flying over with the Marines in the back. We're going to go pick up the SEALs. Then we're going to go do the insert. So the Marines had to get off first. That was the plan. So our first drop, we're letting the Marines off. Second drop, the SEALs are getting off. But the Marines got on first, so they moved all the way to the front, like Marines, right? Moved in front of the bus, right? So they weren't going to sit in the back. So then the SEALs are getting on, and now my crew chief's in the back, like we're trying to figure this out. It's like, hey, the Marines are trying to work with the SEALs helicopter engines to turn. It's loud, nobody's got protection on. They're a bunch of knuckleheads. So we almost had a fight in the back of the airplane because the Marines had to pass the SEALs and the SEALs had to pass the Marines. Everybody's like jockeying for position, trying to figure out who's the coolest of the coolest. And it was just that, like, really, could you guys just sit down so we could like take off and go accomplish the task? Because I'm running low on fuel now. Probably not. That's probably not as funny, but in the moment
No,
it was. Is like, really, you guys are all bowing up in the back of the airplane. You've been in the back of a Chinook.
Yeah.
Like that's, you got six guys, you got 12 humans that are, larger than the average size, all armed to the teeth, trying to figure out, like basically in a phone booth, we're going to like get it on right now.
Yeah. That's funny. I like that.
We got to figure out how to solve this riddle.
Right. File from the back.
Oh yeah. Don't get me started on that.
No, that's it. No, that was it. So, I mean, I just, I finished up college out of San Jose State. So what came out of that is I was working, had started my first business, Platypus Oceans, with a buddy of mine. We were teaching scuba diving and mountain climbing, had a ton of fun doing that. That led us into doing stuff with BAMRU, Barrier Mountain Rescue. And then we got hooked up with the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department, their dive rescue team. So we're doing stuff with that. It's just, and I kind of really, what crystallized for me was service mattered. I mean, I enjoyed being outside. It was fun being with other like-minded people who wanted to make change in a positive way, who wanted to help people. So we just kind of stayed focused on that. And then when the Marines knocked on the door and said, hey, do you want to fly helicopters? I said, hell yeah. So I did that for 30 years. Ton of fun. Retired in 2014 as a colonel. Had an opportunity while I was serving to also do disassociated tours. So I was a forward air controller, a FAC. Ended up doing that in a tank battalion, which is a ton of fun. Again, there's plenty of stories around M1A1 tanks out of 29 Palms. I mean, you might not think 29 Palms is a good place, but I was kind of going, when I went out there, we were doing these combined arms exercises. We got to drop all kinds of ordnance because I got out there right after Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So I deployed my first combat tour was Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Came back from that. And so I was out 29 Palms. There was so much ordnance. I mean, we were dropping bombs like it was cool. And that was all high speed training and moving. But the idea was we weren't dropping a bunch of, Mark 82 White Death. We were dropping, or Mark, what are they like? Mark 45. We were dropping the cement bombs. We were dropping live bombs, not GBUs. It was a ton of fun. Driving around. And then, by the way, the tank's kind of cool because, if the tank's broke, then I don't have to walk. So there's a theme here. I fly in my helicopter, I drive in my tank. I didn't do a whole lot of rucking.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a cool part to rucking, and there's also a not cool part, especially when you get old.
So tell me the cool part of wrecking. Help me break this in. What's the cool part of wrecking?
All right. So Nick and I had this mission in Afghanistan. It was the longer one. And so because we're combat engineers, we look for IDs, we look for them on footpaths. Our primary job is route clearance on the road. So it's not a bad feeling to get to feel like you're a little more infantry devoted, a little more SF, a little more of it, like when you're telling a story, it's more of a sexy job. So instead of I rode around in a vehicle, it's like, so we had this like 5-click hike with packs on stuff because we had gear ready to get there, and then come back. And so, yeah, it's just kind of like you felt badass. I had my shotgun and my, M4 and everything. And there's, no telling what's going on. We're further away. This is the furthest away we've been from the convoy, probably out of most of the missions, because like I say, even though we dismounted some, usually didn't go that far away to get to whatever objective it is you were going to. But so yeah, I mean, it's kind of the cool guy feeling. But there's definitely, I've been on some rucks, mainly training ones, where it's just like you are going super far and you are starting to hate life, or your blisters have blisters. And but even on that ruck, to be completely honest, on that mission there was some stuff like
Clot walls you had to
the clot walls. I had Gore-Tex boots on because it was the winter. And when you think about it, it's like, okay, keep the water out. What you don't think about is when the water gets in your boots, you're walking around with fish bowls on your feet. And so when we got to our objective and I went prone, I bent my knees, like kind of like you picture like schoolgirls on the phone, they're laying on the bed with their like feet up in the air, like because they're laying their stomach or whatever. So I like laying on my stomach in the prone. I pulled my feet up like that, and just to get the water to come out of the boots and like run down my legs, just so I could like have less water in my boots. So yeah, that's like the reality side of it, right? Because everyone wants to do like the sexy cool stuff,
Right.
but then at the end of the day, like I got popped in the mouth by a barrel going over a wall.
I was sinking into some mud because I was
Oh
so
yeah,
heavy.
yeah,
I had to get it. I reached up to an EOD guy and I was like, "Please help!" Like quietly, I was like, "Help!" And he's like pulling me out of this mud.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I stepped into a big puddle. I was like waist deep. I did not see that puddle because we're at night
Yeah.
under nods and everything.
I,
So
I totally get it. Like, when the tank would go out for like, 30 miles, we'd stop and I'd go to the bustle rack and open up the ice chest that's got cold ice and drink some cold Gatorade. Yeah.
I'd say I do know for a fact that like you're riding a tank and the ride isn't as good as like you picture in your head. So I do know
Yeah.
there's some roughness to it.
Oh
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
that. Yeah, it was. I mean, I took the way that works is when I'm FACing, I was the air officer FAC, but when I was FACing, I take the loader seat. So the loader hops out. I basically fill that function in the tank. So I went through the full, what they call it, net new equipment transition training. So I got a chance to check out in the tank. Yeah, it's a small, compact space. It gets hot for sure.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's still be walking. And when you fire that main gun, just saying. And then, the other thing too, and this geeking out as an aviator in a tank space, but like you have a pop-up tent, all you do is rotate your barrel 90 degrees, you throw a tarp over it, and you got this like, 10 for 10 people.
Yeah, that is pretty
So
sick.
yeah, there wasn't a lot of setup time. I mean, it was yeah, it was good. I mean, it was for me, it was kind of fun, but I really got to work with the grunts. I mean, that was really where it's at. I mean, obviously, I'm having a little humor here, but no, you kind of see what's going on down there because flying in a fixed wing or down in there, even as a helicopter guy, you're not as close to it. But when you spend 30 days in the desert, you get to know everybody really well.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it was good. I enjoyed doing that, and then just some time as a flight instructor as well, going back teaching flying as the new people came in. That was always comical. But then again, I'd gone through it myself, so it was kind of the same thing. I'd see it, but I mean, if you're going to be an instructor, my one coaching instructor is you got to recognize this though. You're going to see the mistake. It'll be like the 1,000th time, and you see it coming. They're pulling back on the stick. They put the down rudder. Okay, the airplane's going to depart. You do it at altitude to demonstrate. Like, really? You don't see this coming? We're going to depart. The plane's going to be upside down in a second, and I'm not going to be happy, and you're going to be scared to death. But you want to come in and kind of coach them on it, but you got to let them kind of make the mistake, and then the plane departs. You're upside down. I mean, you're plenty of altitudes. You have plenty of time to recover. There's no
Yeah.
risk of hurt. But you have to really have as an instructor a lot of patience to be able to sit there and go, okay, this is going to happen again, really.
Yeah.
So you can't, it's there, it's your 100th time inverted because they're the mistake, but it's only their first time. So you can't
Yeah.
like roll and like lose your mind in the back because that's usually the first sign of being a screamer is you've
Yeah.
lost your patience for mistakes and you just lose your mind.
Man.
And you guys, yeah, you must have taught soldiers to do something, and by the 100th ever training, you're like, oh, he's really going to do that. Like the clearing barrel example we started with. Really?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The fact that the round just popped out wasn't your first warning sign that there's something not quite right here. The weapon still feels kind of heavy. You're not.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Usually there's a lot of giving people shit that have never used an ACOG before. The joke of like the ACOG batteries, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Something we do is specifically in our unit. I actually took this from car sales because we used to do this. I sold cars like over 10 years ago, and for a couple of years, and it's called the basement key. And you get like, especially, I prey on officers for sure, 100%. And
So
it's
I'm
not
feeling
because,
threatened right now.
yeah, it's not even because like I don't like them. It's just because like they're in a position of leadership, and I want to see how they're going to react to ridicule. It's just test, I'm curious because like I'll give the Joes a hard time all day, and usually it's just me talking shit. But like I want to see how people handle that kind of stuff and see how they react, and kind of then because I come to know what to expect from that person. And so anyway, you say like, hey, because there's doors everywhere that are locked, like you don't know where to go in this building, it's and so you go, hey, sir, or, private or whoever, I need you to go see Sergeant Cox and get tell him I need the basement key. And they go, okay. And so then they go. And for those of you who aren't cluing in, there is no basement in this building. You're just gonna go ahead and put that out there at the beginning. And then they go to Sergeant Cox and he'll go, Oh man, you know what? I gave that to Sergeant Marshall. You had to go over to his office, and then you just bounce them all, and then like eventually somebody's like, "Oh no, that you know what? I gave it back to them," and then they go back to the other person, and that person, "Oh, he did give it to you know, I gave it to so and so. You got to go," and then you just kind of see how long until they figure out like, okay, does this thing exist? Or what's funny is sometimes people just stop looking for it and then they just go find a new task is probably my favorite reaction. They just don't say anything to anybody. They just move on with their day.
So you're the reason I had to do that when I joined
Oh,
the
did that happen to you?
unit.
Yeah,
Well,
it's totally.
someone told me to go look for to go ask somebody for the prick E7.
Oh, yeah. That was another one.
So I'd get sent to an E7 and go ask them for for a prick E7. And I didn't realize what I was saying at the time.
Yeah.
You're thinking it's like you're thinking prick is in PRC. Like I need the PRC 77.
Yeah.
PRC 103 is like
Yeah.
that's a radio nomenclature, right?
Yeah.
I need the prick 103 or I need the prick 77.
Yeah.
So you're thinking, yeah, I'm gonna go find a radio.
I mean,
makes sense.
we got PIS 14s. That's a detector we have. You know, so the Priggy 7.
Right.
Right. So you're spring loaded to go because you don't want to ask questions. That must be an acronym, and I should know all acronyms.
Right, which I don't know like any of them. I just know how to use them in sentence. And that's another thing I would do. I guess I did I like to again I often prey on officers, but I kind of do it for this. But the talk in the army is tactical operations center.
Yep.
Or tactical operations center. And so, but you like especially in the reserve, you only really see it in the field, so it's a tent. And so I tell people it stands for tent of command. And then like just kind of and so then one time I got this I won't say her name, but she was cool about it. But the other thing was one of my friends didn't know it was called Tactical Operations Center. So he heard me tell her, and what helped her get sold on it was that he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And so she's seeing him buy it, and so then she buys it. And then I don't remember how I got found out, but then I got yelled at by the ops CEO because he was like, "Stop fucking with my officer. Leave alone." Yeah, there's a lot of that. NAI, I told some people was it stands for NAI's named area of interest, but I would say it was known area of interest just to see what they was. But,
well, just so we're clear, I've been the victim of that level of humor.
excellent.
So,
Really?
yeah, 100%. A young lieutenant, first gun squadron. Military, we got MOSs, right? So, as a helicopter pilot, 46 pilot, I'm a 75-62. So, a flight line, and I was like, I knew mine, but I didn't know what the mechanic, the gunner, the avionics, the hydraulics, I didn't know what all those MOSs were. Like, I was memorizing everything I could.
Yeah.
Learning to fly the airplane was kind of at the top of the list of things to do because I kind of couldn't do that. I really didn't have much value to the unit.
Hell yeah.
And you're also like, when you're new to the unit, you're like, there's no task I won't do. Like, just give me something to do. I'm motivated. I'm
right.
want to demonstrate that I'm a team player and we'll get it going on. So they tapped into my energy and said, "Hey, I need you to go out the flight line and get a stack of 6112s." And I'm thinking 6112s, a stack of those is some sort of form. Right, go get a stack of 61.
What I would assume.
Yeah.
Right, okay, good. Well, 6112 is a military MOS for a flight line mechanic.
Nice.
So, and this has happened to other officers. So I go rolling into the flight line. There's going to be 12 guys there, and I think the lightest guy was probably like $180. And there's like all big Marines in there. And there's like okay, so I roll in. I'm like 6'2", 220. So I'm like not a small guy, but I'm an officer, and there's like a gunny in the room. Something like, hey, the gunny's going to sort this out for me. So the young first lieutenant's like, hey, Gunny, I'm here to get a stack of 6112s. And he like puts down his newspaper and he's looking at me. Says, "Do you really want a stack of 6112s?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I told again, "Who told you to do that?" "Major, I won't throw him under the bus." And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I guess that was the ritual. So he said, "We'll go right over here." The other guys were all kind of getting up, and I'm like, I'm not processing this at all. I'm like, why is everybody moving? They were all sitting down, just chilling. Next thing you know, two guys from behind, they grab me. So I'm being stacked. So it looked like, so I had like 5 Marines stuck on top of me. I'm stuck on the floor and they're on top there. I'm like trying to breathe, for Christ's sake. And the guy looks down and goes, "I've got a few more 61 clubs. You want me to add them to the stack? Or are you good now?"
That's a good one.
That is good.
That's good.
Yeah. So I'm like, at that point, I realized okay, I get it. My beef is not with the Marines here. Obviously, I'm like, no, I get it. That's good. I'd like to breathe. Do you mind getting off? And I'll go check to see if I have a cracked rib. But side, then you go back in. You're all done. You cut, and I was working in admin at the time. They're just laughing their ass off.
That's
and then the
amazing.
major over there was like, "Welcome to the team, Lieutenant." Like, oh, thanks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's no hazing. That was my MOS lesson for the day. Now I
Yeah.
know what a
See,
6112 is, and I'll never
harm,
forget what a 6112 is.
harmless prank, harmless,
Right? It was
victimless.
educational. I was being taught
Yes,
what the
also
MOS of a
true.
True.
Also true. Very good point.
I can't tell you what the MOS for a hydraulicsman is, but I definitely can tell you we'll never forget. Flight line mechanic is a 6112.
And that's
Right.
an important one to know as a pilot.
There it is, right? They're the
True.
guys that they tended to be the crew chiefs came out of the 6112, and the gunners did too. So those you always wanted the gunners on your side, right? You wanted the best gunners when you're flying.
Yeah.
Right.
See, and I don't know what the mechanic MOS is. I know what a medic is, but I don't know the mechanic, and they fix our vehicles.
I probably used
Although
to, but yeah.
overseas, it was Mantex as a contractor. But anyway, so what were some of your biggest challenges that you had to face, and kind of what got you through them?
So, like, it's inside the service, my time in the
Yeah,
military.
yeah, time of service. Yeah,
Yeah. I think that first off, for all of us that have served, and for those that are thinking of serve, I know we're always trying to tap into that 1%. I mean, you guys get it. 1% of the nation wears the uniform. That's it. When we're wearing the uniform, we're in the 1%. Veteran population somewhere around 7. So to be in that elite group of individuals who have a desire and passion to serve this nation and understand that there's risk associated with that, I mean, that's like gas in my tank, right? And you find a way. But the upside of that too is there's also a ton of opportunities. So before I go down the challenges, I think the military always gave me opportunity. You want to learn more? Here's how you do it. You want access to save resources? Here's how you do it.
yeah.
I mean, the military is this place where people say, well, you're just going to go and follow orders. Yeah, sure. That's part of the job. But it's really an opportunity for you to expand and grow. So if anybody that's still in, getting ready to transition out, man, I'd be all switched on. There's a ton of opportunity. I'd be reading, looking, talking, asking questions. I'd leave no benefit on the table. And we'll talk more about that in the transition here in a moment. But I think some of the kind of the hardest challenges, for me were as a leader when you're telling someone they got to go do something. I think you still wrestle with that. It's one thing, like I said, I've got 3 combat tours flying helicopters, 8 months, 9 months, and 11 months tours. So they're, a lot of time downrange. And, when I'm flying the airplane, it's a shared risk. I get it. I got a co-pilot in the aircraft with me, or I'm the co-pilot based on what role I was at what time. I got, 2 gunners, a tail gunner, sometimes 3 gunners, and a couple of corpsmen. So, I mean, we got a crew, we're making things happen, we're switched on. But what's hard is when you're the commanding officer and you say, hey, you got to go do that. And so like my first combat tour as a squadron commander was in 2000, or my second combat tour, but as a squadron commander was in Iraq. We were supporting medevacs out at TQ Taqadum. And our sole mission was knocking down urgent casevac. So urgent casevac is, you guys know, that's that golden hour. So if someone gets hit, you can get them to definitive care within that first hour. High probability they're going to survive. And the way we translated that to the team was like, hey, we fly, so there'll be no table at home that doesn't have a seat with a Marine in it or a sailor or whoever, right? We're going to make sure that they get home and fight.
I think 33% of the people that I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm ruining your story.
No, it's all good. I mean, from us, it was about.
I used to have I memorized it for the deployment, and it was there's a percentage where it's like a low percentage of people make it to the hospital, but an extremely high percentage of the people, like you're saying, survive.
That's it. I kept tabs of that. So in our bird, we did somewhere like 352 of them.
Wow.
Only 2 that got in the back of the aircraft. So they were alive when they got in the back of the aircraft.
Yeah.
Only 2 didn't make it from the helicopter into the surgical unit and then survive that duration. So we closed the 60-minute window, so got them out there. But when you're in it, like you guys know, I don't mind you're doing it, but when you're sending individuals to go do it, they're going to fly into we called we had the area. If it was a black area, the enemy had shot the helicopter down. If it was a red area, they demonstrated the capability so you could take rounds. You get out to yellow, there was potentially something that happened here. Green is you should be fine, and you would make your tactics probably. But when you're sending people into the black, we would try to fly at night because obviously we had more advantages. But in some cases, urgent casevac in the daytime. So you've got a tick, troops in contact, and it was right. So if you guys have been in a tick, so if you're in a tick and it's a POI, point of injury, so somebody gets hit and goes down, you're going to put a big ass helicopter where the enemy just shot a human, right? So they get hit a 5'5", 180 pound. They can definitely hit the big ass green helicopter that just landed next to that, right? So you're going to take some rounds, but it's that idea though of that, and that was always a challenge. I mean, that's even making forward. Just they teach us to do that as leaders, but I would always have a little bit of when I'd know I was launching crews into the black. So I guess that would be part of it. Same thing as a new commander. When you're sending individuals to go do combat tasking, it's a high risk event. I mean, it's part of the job, right? But I never really was able just to totally bifurcate that and say, they signed up, they know what they're doing. My antidote to all it was I gave them the best training. I made sure they had the best weapons. I did my job to set the conditions. I shaped the battle space. Wasn't random. I was engaged. So we do all the mitigation strategies, but I think that was, that was always a bit of a challenge. But then I think for the other part, really just for the broader was, keeping the family together. Like I'm very fortunate. Been married now for 32 years.
Wow.
We moved at one time, and my kids are still very functional and still talk to me, which is one. My daughter moved 5 times in 5 years, and that's hard, right? So, following my passion, dream, keeping the family, and then working through that. And it was not only just the physical changes. She was in school at the time, so you go through being in I'm in middle school. Now you're going to go into high school, so that's you move. It's a challenge. But, and I say 5 times, it was 2 of those moves where she had to leave the school she was in to go to another school, same location. But in essence, from her perspective, it was a move, a whole new friend group, whole new circle group. So I think in some cases that was hard. You had to stay attuned to working through that. I think that was sometimes a bit of a challenge, but
I get that.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have wives or girlfriends or however that works, but you need a really good family support, man. You got to snap them in. You got to pay attention to what's going on. Take nothing for granted. No different than you do when you lead your soldiers. In my case, Marines and sailors. So I think that was sometimes a challenge. I
think to a degree that is easier, and that's a component of the reserves that's easier, is because when I deployed, I'm married and we have 2 kids, but we had 1 at the time, and we live in town with my wife's family, a large portion of it, and we've lived in Kansas City most of our lives. So we have friends from childhood, like close friends. So instead of her having to be on base somewhere, and then I don't know, some people will move home for that reason, but she didn't have to uproot her life, like other than me being gone, which is a pretty enormous part of it. Obviously,
right.
We're married with a child, but her job was the same. Her contact with family and friends probably grew a little bit, if it didn't stay the same. So, but that's always, I'm wrestling with staying in or how long. And for me, I'm tired of asking them to keep supporting me. You know what I mean?
No, I do get that. And I would say, kind of broadly, when you decide a path of service, we're obviously all military, but I could look right across the street to our first responders, firemen, AMOs again, similar individuals who put in a significant amount of hard work and energy. And you have to find, this is the important component I would coach all of us, is you got to find the metrics that matter to you. Don't let somebody else evaluate your life for you. Don't let someone else set their goals and expect you to absorb those.
Yeah.
Buy into the fact that, hey, you are a warrior. You chose a path, and you maintain that. And the other antidote to that is, we maintain a mental and physical toughness. I taught that into the Marines. You've learned that as well. And that carries us into being veterans as well, right? We understand what it means to be mentally and physically strong. But the other part I would toss at you is the concept of balance. And so something that helped me a lot is to think through that. And I use this super simple antidote of saying, hey, I have a 3-legged stool. And one leg is your work, one leg is your family, and one leg is you. Now you can put spiritual, and you can add to that how you bake it. But the concept is that stool has the legs relatively balanced, you can put a ton of weight on it. But the minute you start to underserve one and over other, now that stool begins to get a non-flat surface, and it can hold less and less. And then at some point it will simply tip over. And that's right. And so we have to really stay checked and stay balanced. So to your point is, right now, maybe what you're seeing is, a little bit more support from the family. Okay, acknowledge receipt of that, put that in the bank, and then, check yourself again in a year or in 2. And I bet the geometry will be different.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's great.
The analogy especially was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get a little out of order, but it doesn't matter with our questions. But so I'm going to jump on probably our favorite question, as we say every time, because that was good advice. If you could go back in time to the day you signed up for service, what advice would you give yourself, if not that?
I think that advice I'd give myself is to keep that passion, stay engaged. And something that I learned later in life that I'm going to move forward is this idea of a challenge. So people will, in some cases, will look at a challenge and go, maybe not today. What I learned in the military, challenge, the other side of that coin is opportunity.
Yeah.
So seek challenge, be smart, engage. That's where opportunity is. Too many people come back and say, well, I didn't get an opportunity to do that. Well, then you didn't embrace a challenge, right? Rarely does something walk up and say, here's a great opportunity, it's yours, right? Normally what you see is there's a challenge in front of you or in front of the organization, right? And you guys have obviously risen to the challenge you've seen is it's hard for veterans to transition. Veterans struggle. That's the challenge that you're doing. And the opportunity for you then is to harness your ability to run a podcast, to bring in individuals that normally wouldn't have a voice like me, to have a platform to talk to veterans. You're a conduit, an interlocker to a conversation. That's the byproduct of you looking at a challenge, right? And so I think if I would have learned that a little sooner, but if to be really, the other thing I would say, and all that we do in the military, like I came in with a full head of steam. It's like, what are the metrics? Okay, I can do this. So I got to run this fast. I got to shoot this straight. What I needed to also be better at connecting in with the team. Like I was really good at it, but I was also very judgmental. It's like, dude, you can't fly for shit. You're not in the squadron. Instead of like taking a step back and like figure out, that one was a squadron. I was a young pilot looking at other pilots trying to like, I should have been better at relationship building in the way of being people on your team. If I took a snapshot of everybody in one moment, which we tend to do, and then grade their eggs, in some cases, like, I was too quick. I think that, I needed to broaden my understanding of the whole person. It took me to be, senior captain before I figured that out.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because then what you don't realize is you build relationships. Those are the bonds that in the moment serve purpose. But now let's talk about us as veterans. I think one of the biggest thing, those bonds, we want to continue, maintain those. I mean, how often do you talk to buddies and stay connected? That's an important thing. And I keep telling myself, like, hey, I haven't talked to one of my friends, I'll pick up the phone or send them a text or, find a way to be in the same space. Drink that beer, get a glass of wine, get some coffee, go for a run. That I think is something I'm continually coaching myself on, is to stay connected, and to continue to support others. Because then when you need the support, back to where you just came at me with, where you are right now to stay or go, because you're relying on external support. I think that's something you look at that and go, that's good. I'm taking some now, but I'm also at the same time, I'm giving some. So it's a net zero, but I'm also putting some energy in the tank because I might need that later.
Wow. That's great.
Oh,
go ahead.
Did I pass the test?
No, yeah. No.
Flying colors.
There you go. Hoorah.
Well, so I'm going to kind of combine two questions here. We'll move into kind of your transition out of the military. And, as you touch on that, were you able to find like a cause to devote yourself that was bigger than yourself? Was that Clear Force or, or was it just, your family? Because a lot of people miss that when they get out, being a part of something bigger.
Yeah, the answer is yes, followed by yes, followed by yes. No, I'll peel it back and take it down a level. But
yeah,
the transition out, I mean, as I hit the 30 year and it was time to go, I remember one of the things I told my wife, like the day after I stopped doing the job, right? And so maybe I'll loop it in. As you transition, I would encourage anyone, when it's your time to depart the pattern, hold your head high, be smart about it. You should have already thought about it a year out. If you have that opportunity 6 months out, you should have a plan, be building things out, think through it, use the resources. But kind of maybe to loop in a very funny story. The day I woke up after I handed the BlackBerry off and I was no longer, responsible for a task. I was a guy getting 150 emails a day. I'm wearing my uniform. I got a couple rows of ribbons. I've been a couple places. Then all of a sudden I'm walking around in a polo shirt and nobody's sending me emails. Nobody's calling. And I'm just and I'm at the store and I'm like, people don't even know I'm in a room. I'm like, wait a minute. I used to walk in the room and people would stand up.
Right.
Oh, yeah. It's like, hey, you guys got 3 combat tours, man. He's got been around a little bit, right? So but then outside, I don't know who are you? You got a funny haircut. Because, I had, obviously not growing it back. So it quickly though, as we transition, you want to harness that passion. For me, you hit it. It was family. It was a little bit of payback time because all those moves. So the wife made clear, right? We'll snap the line. We made it clear. We're not moving right away, right? Shake your head up and down. See some north-south action going on here. So like, remember I told you I've been married 30 plus years? I know the right answer when my wife
Yeah.
gives.
Oh yeah.
I can absolutely spot that answer. So, but that's so anchor down the family. But then, you obviously got to generate revenue for the team, but then it really, how do you define that? So first for me was some volunteer work. Like I'm out here in Nevada. I do some work with nonprofits out here in the veteran space, just just volunteer my time, stay engaged, do that. Clear Force, absolutely checked all the boxes. It's a professional organization, has veterans in it. It's really got solid leadership. Like you guys have been in units, you follow somebody out of curiosity, and then you follow others like, oh man, I'm going, right. That's that I would follow that person anywhere fights on. The other person,
Right.
like, right, you could be standing next to the fire exit on a building that's burning down with the fire extinguisher, and I probably wouldn't follow you. Right. It's just that, you just don't have that level of confidence. I'm fortunate. I work with some really great people in Clear Force. I mentioned earlier, General Jones, who was, obviously kind of the Marine Corps. He's on the team. We got other general officers, Air Force, General McKinley was the head of the National Guard, advising the company. We got, the leaderships from, because we work with data. I mean, we're a privacy compliance company. We had the guys that privacy at LexisNexis, TransUnion, Equifax, the big data companies, the CEOs. I mean, we just work with some really smart and really engaged people. And some of them are, most of them are younger than me, but it's just, I like that. And then what we do in the day job, helping organizations discover risk in our commercial and government application is rewarding unto itself. That's finding individuals, helping them deploy. But now the stuff we're doing in suicide, we talked about before, it's just, that's it. I mean, we're engaging in a conversation. It's an uphill fight because many people like, no, we got this figured out. I'm like, no, the data says you don't. Well, we just had a bad year. No, you've had a bad couple of decades. I mean, it's to get them to think through, hey, let's try something new, but do it in a way that's positive. Like I'm not coming in and saying you guys are all jacked up. I'm going to hit you over the head with a hammer. I'm coming in and saying, hey, can we maybe open another door here? Can you add another ball to the many that you juggle and take a look at this? But that idea is finding some passion is super important. And you see, and I'll pontificate for a second, but there's so many veteran service organizations, guys like us, gals like, men, women that have gotten out, have started these veteran service or become entrepreneurs themselves. Man, lock into that energy as a vet transitioning. Find out. Yeah, you got to, make whatever revenue, cash that supports your lifestyle that you want, not what someone putting on a billboard tells you or on a Snapchat or Instagram video says is the right answer. Do that. But find something that if you have to volunteer for, stay engaged at something, whether it's your church, however you think through that level of passion is important, but you have to augment that passion by stay connected to your service. I mean, stay connected to when you serve. Yeah. You look back and go, and I would encourage people to go back and go, I didn't have a good time, but there's always a funny story. There's always something you did. And I can tell you, having been out now for about 8 years, I look back with a lot of pride in my service and the people I work with and the difference that we made. Even if you go back and go, people will say, well, what happened in Afghanistan? What happened in Iraq? What's going on? You guys did all this, and then it's like nothing changed. I look back and go, you got to think of change in many different ways. We may change in the moment. I know my life was changed. The Marines and sailors I fought with, their life changed. And a lot of that, some of that was, and they struggle with that. But they go back and go, they answered the call when others didn't. They stepped forward when others wouldn't. And that's an important component. Never let go of that. Like, hold on to that. That's got to be fuel in your tank as you move forward. No one can take that from you because you did that.
Yeah, I mean, a position like yours, everyone you saved with those helicopter rides, they didn't just suddenly die when we withdrew from Afghanistan. They were still saved. They were still with their families back home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I went into Afghanistan trying to make sure I tried to talk to my soldiers. Some of them, I don't fully understand what I was trying to ask them, but I was trying to remove the whole, do you believe in why we're here question. Like, I wanted to make sure everyone was good. They believed in the mission, at least to some extent. Even if it was just, well, I don't think we should be in Afghanistan, but we are preventing people from getting blown up. So there's that. But yeah, so, and that was something I tried to cling to then when all that went to shit. And I was like, trying to hold on to some form of, well, not all is lost. Yeah, I feel like this is a huge loss, and we don't have to get into the whole thing, let alone my opinion of it. But yeah, because I was upset, and so I was trying to hold on to, well, there was a lot of good I did, and that good still exists. You talking to to A&A guys, winning hearts and minds, Nicholas. There was good stuff that was still done that wasn't undone.
Yeah, you got to hit on that though. You said it when you came back to me, which I thought was spot on, is the fact that the Kazakhs that we pulled out and got them into care and got them home, and they're still alive today with their families. Families aren't visiting them on holidays at grave sites; they're visiting them at their tables. Right? That's an important. That doesn't go away. So in some cases, people look at the geopolitics of this and go, they'll grade the eggs. We talked to Vietnam vets, and they were like, Vietnam. Well, my view is. You guys did great. You did what you were told to do, and you did it. And by the way, you saved lives. We fight for the people on your right and the left, right? We don't hate necessarily the people in front of us. We love the people behind us. And so that idea of what we're doing matters. And it matters in that moment. And that moment you might think is fleeting, but no, you did that. You were there for that. You stood when others did not. And that can never be removed from your DNA. And I think you got to lock onto that because we do struggle. I mean, veterans come back out. It's because we talk about, it's like, I could lead a squad, but now I can't get a job. I mean, how do I translate me being a sniper to, how do I translate that into, I want to, run a bunch of guys at a company. And then there tends to be like a communication, like we could talk and I have to be very careful about acronyms because we'll start talking in the business meetings. And if we have government clients, I could very quickly slip back into acronym soup. But I have to remind myself that there's people on the team that have no idea what I'm talking about. But what I will tell you, one of the things that, again, is a positive, like what I help ClearForce think through, I mean, I'll engage and there'll be someone on the other side of this now, this transitioned out like you guys, who served in the military. And we will connect in and understand and quickly translate and go, okay, I get it. There's a bit of a pedigree check to some degree. It's like when, warriors are in the same space. We get quickly into, well, I'm a soft guy, you're not. I'm a helicopter guy, you're a jet guy. I drove a tank, you walked in the mud. I mean, we kind of do that, the humor, my school's better than your school kind of thing. But at the end of the day, there's always that, we're in that 1% that served and the 7% that did serve. And so don't let go of that. I mean, that's a place that you walked in. And I would tell veterans as they transition out, hold on to that and what you learn. But what the other thing though, you asked one of your other, I looked at a couple of your podcasts, like what was one of your soft skill sets? One of your soft skill sets is
we were literally about to have
we were about to transition right
you
into
were kind of transitioning to your own. You're like on auto officer here. You're just like, know what's next, and you're on. So yes, soft skills.
Yeah,
soft skills. So I can see it coming, right? That's it, man. I'm always switched on. When you fly a helicopter that could crap out on you, man. I mean, the helicopter is almost as old as me. Let's do the math. I flew a helicopter in combat that was older than most cars people drive today, right? Like, oh, this car is 6 years old, and I think the radio doesn't work well. Give me a new one. This thing was my helicopter I was flying was made in like 1974.
Yeah, I was on a car because I had a cracked windshield on the way home.
Well, there you go. Yeah, we had a cracked windshield too, but it wasn't caused by like a rock and roll. But it's this idea of let's just put another one on, move on. But it's the idea though of the soft skills that we learned is like, hey, leadership. I mean, the old adage is if there's two people in the room, one of you is in charge. Right. It isn't like a random one of you, well, we're both privates or we're both sorry. That doesn't really matter. One of you's in charge. You're either in charge based on your rank or you're in charge based on the mission. And when we flew helicopters, we had this thing called TAC lead. So I could be the guy in charge and I have two other aircraft behind me. But if one of my wingmen picks up the threat fast, they have the authority to maneuver the flight. They have to call me and go, hey boss, do you mind if we turn left? They just go, break left, threat. And they took charge of the flight in that moment in time. So this idea, you have leadership skills that most of your civilian counterparts don't understand. They don't have those. They might tell you they have those. Some might, but think about that. To be in the military definition, you're a student from day one, right? What do they teach you? How to make your bed, start there, right? Then, how to clean your weapon. You can here's how you put your food in your tray. I mean, they break it all down, but at the end of the day, you're a student. Then as you move through that, now all of a sudden you're a student of leadership, you're a student of tactics. Now they're saying, hey, go read this book. What's this book about? This is Sun Tzu. This guy died a long time ago. Why am I reading Sun Tzu? Because there's still some tenets there of leadership, right? Totally. Why am I reading The Dead German? Because he's got some really cool things you should learn, right? This idea. So I think a soft skill that we come out of the military is one, the ability to learn. We get it in school, but the military reinforces that. Become a student of the art. What is it you need me to learn and why? Learn what I need to do my job. And then we learn leadership skill sets. And the other thing you guys, we learn is, I can guarantee you if there's somebody breaks in the room and people start screaming and yelling, you're not going to be screaming and yelling. You're immediately going to assess the situation. You're going to start processing going like, damn, wish I would have brought my 9. But I mean, you're going to start through a cascading series of decision-making skills and you're going to see it. Or like, you're going to anticipate things different. You're going to look at things through different lenses. But then you're also going to figure out, when people talk leadership, they're called orders, not suggestions. So people have to do them. I'm like, nah, pause. They go back to where we started. They'll follow you because they believe in you and they trust you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You learn that skill set. You didn't walk in and go, hi, I'm the sergeant. And oh, by the way, one of the things when I would coach young officers and I would teach, I go, just because you got promoted, you didn't get any funnier or any smarter, right?
Yeah.
The promotion is the military telling you, we think you can do more for us. The award is recognizing what you did. So don't confuse the two. If you get promoted, that's it. They're telling you they think you can do more, live up to that expectation.
You were just dropping J-dams of knowledge.
Yeah, that is great. Oh my.
That is good.
But right. So that's what that comes from. And but those are some of the soft skill sets that we learn, is that we can translate that or crosswalk that out when we go in there. So when you go to work and you go, I work for, this is my boss. Okay, you do, but in the military, just because you work for them, you're not somehow less than them. No, you're in an organizational structure. And so what they're going to look for is, I'm problem solving. I got to do my job. But one of the things I learned is I solved the problem that I have, but then what's the problem my boss has? What's the problem his bosses has? Now I'm thinking out, now I'm trying to, because I can solve my boss's problem, I'm solving mine, but now I'm anticipating now I'm helping my boss solve the boss's problem. So you're thinking through, no matter where you work, get on the ground, figure out what you're doing, make things, and look around the room and go, what else can I do here? How can I help the organization move forward? Teamwork is another soft skill set. I mean, we could rattle it off a lot, and I apologize. I'm having a
that's
cup
good.
of coffee, caffeine's kicking in, but yeah, 100%.
That's so many ways to apply that. Well, and we were talking with Matt Eversman about he and I were kind of the same mentality when we would train Joes, is like, we're not special dudes. We're not like some genius high speed. It was like, I work hard to be in my position, but at the same time, I just got this information from somebody else who got it from somebody else. Now I'm giving it to you so that you can do your job and you can replace me. And the whole thing can go on. And kind of with that, I tell my Joes, like, the leadership position, because I try to hit home. I want them to be good leaders when they rank up, but I also want them to identify what good leadership is in other NCOs. Yeah. Not because I want to stand out as a good NCO, but I want them to be able to identify a poor leader and respectfully do their best to not follow that leader. Don't follow that guy and how he does it, because that's not good. And so where I'm going with it is, I explained to them, this rank, I'm just a different place on the ladder disseminating information. At the end of the day, information comes down. I might make a decision. Usually I don't, because the decision's made. I give it to you. You have problems. You need solutions, whatever. I help you manage that. And at the end of the day, I send all that information back up the chain. I'm like, I'm just a cog in a different place in the machine. And, you can come do this too. You may not want to. I didn't. But
I'm gonna push on that. I'm gonna push on that slightly. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'll give you two business axioms. One, to me, as a leader, what you do is you steal from the rich, ignore the poor. And you said it differently, but the idea is, I see leadership tenets that I like, I'm actually taking that on board. That's going in my kit bag. I see some over there I don't like, sorry, not taking that in. Steal from the rich, ignore the poor. That's an ongoing, continuous evaluation problem that you're doing, right? Yeah. The other thing is, when people talk about leadership, I refer to a code. You go, man, that guy looks really good. He's doing it. That guy, that girl, that she's making things happen. So then you look at that and go, okay, well, I want that code or this style, or as you're describing. You put that on, what's the first thing you realize? It doesn't look as good as me. You have to tailor it. So when you steal that technology, you steal that not technology. I'm obviously I'm not China. But the guy works for China. Yeah. But it's what you do is to say, like, hey, you bring that on and you modify it to fit your motive. So that's how I would kind of encapsulate what you said to the different words. That's how I would push that in. But I would say this: if you're in the chain, you're value add. There's, like, in my experience as a Marine, and we promoted a ton of people. If I thought all you were was a pass-through conduit, you pass through the door on your way out. Because the reason you're there as a leader is I expect you to be value add, and your value add is, and you can execute on exactly what I said. Because we call them mission type orders. What's the other thing we all learned up? Trust tactics. Yeah. What's the definition of trust tactics? I trust that I gave you a mission type order and you're going to figure it out. Hey, go seize that hill. We didn't say go left or right or, put the mortars over there. He said seize the hill. He gave you an outcome and told you to cause that outcome to happen. So you had to do
Right.
some, whatever that is, get that vehicle fixed, right? Doesn't have to be combat related. Get those 10 guys to school. Whatever that is, you were given a task, mission type orders. And if you're a good leader, I didn't give you a cookbook on how to bake that cake. I just said, I want to eat it, and I want to eat it in about 2 hours. So go cause good shit to happen. So don't dismiss the what you did as an NCO. You put your little bit of magic in there. You made your assessment, and then you executed the end state.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's what we do. You did. You
Yeah.
guys all. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe I made it sound almost too like you gotta have some of yourself in there, right? Because you gotta have that honesty and delivery. I'm a big person.
Why did they
on
promote you?
Delivery, right?
Why did they promote you? They didn't promote you because it was your time in the barrel. They promoted you because they said you could do more things. So do more things, and they'll keep promoting you.
Yeah.
And that goes back to you asked earlier. Do I stay? Do I not go? Obviously, you got to have fun doing it. You got to make a sense. Family's got to be on board. But if they're asking you to stay, then you should ask yourself, why are they doing that?
Yeah.
And we have to be honest about our self-assessments, but they just need another number. Well, maybe not, maybe there's more there than what you think. So don't dismiss the greatness that you bring to the fight. That's why they have you in a leadership role. So execute as a leader, stand up, lead the fight. What's that old thing they learn? Follow me, and they will.
I like it,
man. That's great advice.
That's good advice.
That's what veterans do, though. Back to as we transition out, veterans should think about, they were called orders in the military, but when you get out, hey, there's we call them suggestions, like, hey, you still have to lead people to accomplish. And what you find is people in many cases want to be part of an organization. They want to be in a group, and they want to move in a positive direction. Sometimes they can't figure it out on their own. So if you can bring solutions or suggestions or nudge people, there's a really good book. I came out of West Point. So here's a Marine giving an Army a shout out. It's called Leadership and Followership. And it's this idea of this transitional. I'm a leader, but I'm also a follower. Because some people go, a follower, you're a loser. No, being a good follower means you're helping inform the leader. Like, how many times have you led and not been the lead point guy, but you move slightly and the whole formation shifts on you? You don't have to be necessarily in the front seat of everything.
Yeah.
Right? So you're impacting the movement of others simply by moving. Nonverbal communication, but they know you're in charge. They sense that you move because you're seeing something. You want to rearrange the formation because you think the threat's changing. That's leadership, brother. That's what, and that's what we did in the military, regardless if you were working on Humvees, flying helicopters, or being a scout sniper. Whatever your job was, you were leading people. So take that same and carry it out there, because the commercial world is hungry for leaders at all levels, not just titled leaders like CEO, COO. They're looking for third snuffy on the left. They're whatever your job description is, that's table stakes to get started.
Yeah.
Start there, master that, and then take another step. And if you have a question, ask for it. And then you then quickly connect with other veterans, find out what's going on. Continue to do what we do best. And then if you need help, and this goes back to the suicide prevention fight, if you need help, ask. No one's gonna look at you and go, hey, you need help? You're somehow, no. How many times you picked up the phone? I need help. What could that be as local? I need a tire. I need a battery. I need gas. I need 27 more people. I need a B-52 arc-like strike. Whatever it is that you need, you're always putting the request in to get the support you need, because why? You're doing it for you, and you're doing it for your team. And if you're doing it, if you're out, you're doing it for you, you're doing it for your loved ones, and that's it. You owe it to all of those people that have supported you, moved with you, to, hey, ask for help, stay in the fight, stay engaged, seek solutions. Yeah. That's what I would suggest. Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds easy. I get it, because tragically a lot of our brothers and sisters don't, which is why I'm totally passionate about what Clear Force is doing to push resources. Like, I totally couldn't be any more passionate about that. But for us, though, veterans, for my fellow brothers and sisters that are in the fight, for all of us, stay in the fight, connect. That's our most powerful tool, is the ability to connect. And don't do that, not just because it's Suicide Awareness Month, or, somebody said, I got some training today, I got to do it tomorrow. Do it because it's like what you want to do. And then when you start to connect in, you find what happens. People connect back.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah.
And now when you have two people want to talk about it, that's actually, we call that a conversation. So now we're talking. And then what happens in a conversation? Oh, we're sharing information. And next thing you know, we're telling funny stories, we're reconnecting, we're remembering things. I told you asked me to tell a funny story about, Bob wasn't very funny, but when you mentioned the SEAL team, oh, I remember a funny story about SEALs. So all it takes is one thing that you throw out there, then all of a sudden something that's been hidden in your Rolodex just kind of bubbles back up, and you put a smile on your face and you go, oh, I got a story there. Or, hey, that reminds me when I actually did solve that riddle.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, man. I mean, I know you, like I said, I keep going back. I think what you guys are doing is awesome. I mean,
Thank you.
bringing veterans in to have this conversation and to share resources. Maybe my one thing, if I jump in there, I would tell all veterans who are transitioning, take advantage of TAMP and TAP. You have to. In fact, there's a company out there called Onward Ops. Army's engaging with them. They're basically looking to way to mentor. So think about this: like I'm on the outside, and I help other transition Marines. I mean, I have this network of just in this case retired colonels, E89s, just happen to be other well, they're senior guys. They're all through the strata. There's there, but I've even talked to sergeants and corporals like, hey, I'm getting out. Hey, if I happen to if they know they serve with me, I had a sergeant who was my radio operator when I had the MEU, and we supported me on some of these PSD missions. But he reached out to me and goes, hey, sir, I'm transitioning. You got time? Sure. And let's share that, have a conversation, and then network. I mean, that's a really good thing. Like following your thing is the networking. You do it because obviously it's helpful. There's a business plan in there somewhere. But I think underneath it's like, hey, if you can become the hub and connect other veterans via your spokes, then that's one is two, two is four. That's called synergy, and we're moving in a good direction again, right? So I like that what you guys are doing. I would tell veterans in the transition, even if you're feeling like you're struggling a bit, stay connected, don't break those bonds. And then for other veterans, if you sense people are moving out of your orbit, move towards them, engage. And the best thing you can do is let's get coffee, have that conversation and then see where that goes. And then in that's when you can pick up on, and someone might feel more comfortable after the second cup's like, hey, I really could use a little help here. And boom, let's solve that riddle.
All right. Yeah.
You want to hit up this last one?
Yeah. We'll finish out with
I'm interested to hear this why, but
yeah, and it always brings up different benefits that maybe people haven't heard of. So were there any was there the most important veteran benefit that you utilized in the path where you are now, or?
Yeah, I know I've been a little long-winded tonight, and I apologize for that. I'm kind of still very motivated in this
no,
space.
we want all
Okay.
that, and we want
Yeah,
this.
I feel like I'm trapping
like,
you in your chair.
No, you're like a belt fed, and I'm like, all right, that ridge line's good. Now let's hit this ridge line. That's what we want.
Okay, we're shifting. We're changing barrels. We're shifting.
Shift fire. That's what we're doing.
I got it. We're shifting fire. Somebody threw some smoke there. I get it.
Now let it ring. Go.
Okay, we're switching. All right, safety back off. Okay, so trigger down. Here's what this looks like, I think, for me.
Okay.
There are free services as you transition. The Veterans Administration is working towards, and some people might say they're not the best, not the worst. I don't want to get in that conversation. I'm going to say the people at the VA want to make a difference every day they try.
I'm making notes. I'm not texting anyone.
Okay, no, that's all good as long as you're not calling law enforcement. You're not swatting me at my house. Sorry, I don't.
They wouldn't answer the phone for me anyway. So
I was I'm looking out my window, I don't need to see that roll up on me. But here's the thing: is that there are organizations that will help veterans with their transition as they apply to VA for benefits, like DAV, VFW. There are others. So I would, as you get ready to transition, go to Tap and Tap, and then find out who can help me as I transition to get connected into the VA to get a VA assessment, because we're required to get a SEPS physical. We call that a separations physical. So the Marine Corps brought me in and says they did a physical and they checked me out. They did a physical, and part of that is this is what we broke while we're here for 30 years. Right. Or this is what didn't break. But there's that kind of like when you rent a house, you check in, house is good shape. When you check out, they expect it to be in good shape. Right. If there's discrepancies, you solve the riddle. So you want to make sure that if there are, even if you just did 4 years of service or many, I mean, there's probably some aches and bruises of things. And I'm not telling you to manufacture anything, not at all. Be straight up honest players. But I would definitely go have that done and have them look at that. And then I would redo it every 5 or 10 years. Just to, as things start bubbling up, is to look at that and just make sure that things that were damaged or caused or issues that you document those and you're aware of those, and you put that on the VA scan. You see what they can do to kind of support or help you in that area. That's one. A lot of guys will walk out and they'll say, "I'm fine. I'm tough. I don't need it. My back hurts, or I blew my knee out, or I took some rounds or some shrapnel. It's all good." But sure, I'm good. I'm sure it's all good. But I think you need to just baseline that. So that's one. So they assess you going in, they assess you going out. Make sure, and don't pay for that. That's a lot of veterans get sucked into. They write a check. It's all free. Make sure you absolutely do that. Get a counselor to help you think through that. If Solid Start does call you, answer the phone. VA's talking to you. Back to it. Conversation is never a bad thing. Hear what they have to say. and maybe there's a connecting file. I think that's the other thing I would suggest as you go out. And then I think the other thing that helped me as I transition was the idea of looking for a job before I needed a job. And this is something I would tell people that are in the space. It's easier to get a job when you have a job.
Yeah.
Right. So we know that once you're out, like if I work for this company, I want to go for that one. I don't walk out the door and quit, because when you start filling out your resume, you want to be able to say I'm working here until present. Right. So I'm employed, I'm doing this, but I'm looking to move different. Right. Vice. Now I haven't been working for 2 to 5 years, or I've been out for 6 months. Now there might be reasons why you do, like a peace out. I'm not trying to say it's a kiss of death. I'm saying back to when we transition, you should be looking about where you want to go a year out, 6 months out. You should be thinking through what that looks like. You should be asking yourself, assessing, what's it like there for veterans? What's a house cost? What job opportunities do I have? Back to this networking piece. You want to be networking. This is where, don't be shy. Pick up the phone and talk to your bubbas, and just see what's going on. And you'll find that a lot of them will be like, hey, I can help you. Or, hey, I'm going to connect you with this guy. I mean, they may not offer you a direct job, but you're in a conversation, you begin to have an opportunity to transition. So I absolutely think that as we transition out, that's an important concept. The other thing is I would suggest continue to PT. And continue to PT, and don't let that go. I mean, it's easy, we get busy, and then the regimen of falls away a bit. What we start with, mentally, physically strong. So continue to PT and continue to read books. I mean, whatever it is, you got to keep your mind and your body switched on. I mean, that's it. You don't have to read textbooks. Yeah, keep learning. We're students of that art, right? That's what they taught us in the military. We learned how to make our beds, and we just graduated to tie our boots. But the night before, you figured out how you could, put a 120 mortar into a small box 2 ridgelines away at night. Rain. Yeah. So I mean, it's right. So you figured out how to do complex tasks. So continue. So by reading, whatever that is, pick a genre or whatever, just stay engaged, read, and PT is something that I would strongly encourage individuals to keep doing, because that keeps you mentally and physically agile and strong. And that's important. I mean, take some time off and rest, but then I'd say stay in balance. Those ideas of when you left, a lot of that was provided for you by the military. Continue to maintain some level of balance, right? So by remember to PT, remember to stay engaged academically, read, seek other education, stay connected, with your family, whatever. I think all of those are important. And the last thing I would say is you served this nation honorably and proudly when a lot of people didn't. I mean, 1%. I mean, do the math. 1% serves this nation. The other 99% are grateful for it. And they are. I mean, I when people say, well, thank you for your service, I know people make fun of that, and I get it. But a lot of Americans I've met to, when they say that, they mean that. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're like that. So don't forget. Yeah. I mean, and don't dismiss that casually, like, yeah, whatever. It's an important component, because you want to hold on to the value of your service, the value of the friendships that you made in that space. And the bottom line is you mattered, right? When a whole bunch of other people didn't, you did. I mean, by joining the military, by definition, you're not an oxygen thief. I mean, we don't take those by definition. I mean, you might become one, but we don't recruit oxygen thieves. So you get in there, you made a difference, and stay in the fight.
All right.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. It's been an honor, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Ridgeline extinguished, for sure. Really good information. I appreciate your time very much.
Hey, I do too, guys. And I salute you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Really good. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
We thank you for listening, and we hope you got something helpful out of this.
Right now, the best way to support us is to simply spread the word. If you know a fellow veteran who could use some resources to elevate their life, send them our way.
Until next time, remember to check your 0s, 5s, 10s, and 25s.